I've been together with my wife since the last year of college, and we currently have two beautiful kids. In my book, family always comes first, no matter what. So if family needs you, you drop what you got and you make them your priority. That's just how I've been brought up. This also includes all of our parents and siblings. I am a little bit of a handyman and usually get called up when someone has to get something done. Whatever it would be, building a new porch, repair a barn, deforest an area, babysitting relatives' kids, and so on. My brother-in-law, my wife's sister's husband, on the other hand, never lends out a hand. He works with IT and isn't good with tools, but really excels in softwares and operating systems. He is in good health, has no illnesses that affect him in any way. My wife grew up on a farm, so there is always something my father-in-law wants some help with. Usually, when we gather the family's men for a day of work at his farm, it all ends with beers, sauna, and a big dinner. Everyone turns up for work, except my brother-in-law. Instead, he arrives for the food and beer when the work is finished. He has on several occasions in the sauna proudly said that since he hasn't asked someone for help, no one could ask him for help either. My in-laws ask for help this way perhaps one day a month, and it would seem that they are fine with this and has stopped asking him for help, since it's been clear he doesn't want to help. It bothers me that he just takes it for granted. Wouldn't have worked on my side of the family. This makes my blood boil, but I keep my mouth shut since no one seems to be bothered by this, nor would I want to make things hard for my wife and her family. You're right, blood boils is a strong saying. Sounds maybe a little too harsh. But I would be inclined to say it bugs me to the point that it feels like I could either laugh or cry when I see him. Note, I have my own company, which takes me all around the country, and during the occasion that I describe below, I was away on such a business trip. I got a big contract out of nowhere and hurried to make things in order on site so I could get home since my wife was pregnant and soon was due. Last fall, during my wife's pregnancy with our youngest, she was doing a physical examination with her midwife at the hospital in a town near where we live. Nothing serious, just some minor issues with the kid's position in the womb. During her visit, a snowstorm rolled in and pretty much buried the town and her pickup. We live up north, so it's pretty common with snow early in October, but we usually get by with our pickup fairly easy. This storm came out of nowhere and took the county off guard. In my hurry for the trip, we missed changing tires on our pickup truck. That's completely on me, not blaming brother-in-law for that. When she walked outside, she noticed the huge amount of snow. She realized that she wouldn't be able to make the trip home. If she wanted to get home, she had to change to the winter tires I had stacked back on the truck. But since she was 8 months pregnant, she couldn't do it herself, and therefore needed assistance. She called our brother-in-law for help, since he and my wife's sister live in town. He works on commissions and were home at the time. This was the fastest way to get home in my wife's mind at the time. You guys are absolutely right that she could have called AAA for help, but at that moment she just didn't make that connection to do so. Taking a taxi wouldn't be possible in our rural area of the country. She then would have to wait a couple of hours, nothing she felt like doing. When he picked up the phone, he said he didn't feel like helping her. He instead offered her that he instead could drive downtown and give her instructions on how to change the tires. My wife told him that she already knew how to do it, and the issue was that she weren't able to do it because of the state and the pregnancy she was in. My brother-in-law then told her that he still wouldn't help her out. He then said good luck and hung up. Luckily, a friend of ours, call him Gary, was dropping his wife off for work at the hospital and offered to help my wife out. Thanks to Gary, my wife made the trip back home again. Brother-in-law didn't have any hidden motive of why he declined her help. We have a good relationship and haven't had a falling out with neither my wife's sister or her husband. And yes, she could have went inside the hospital again, but Gary happened to notice my wife and offered to help. When the news about the storm arrived at the part of the country I were in, I instantly felt worried and bad for not having changed the tires earlier that week before I went away. So I called and asked how the trip went. She mentioned that Gary helped her out and she came home safely. I was relieved that she was okay and haven't thought about this since. Yesterday, I overheard my wife talking over the phone with her best friend about the event I described with the brother-in-law. I went from calm to furious in seconds. After she ended the call, I immediately confronted her about what I overheard. She told me she was afraid that I would do something bad to him and therefore didn't tell me the whole story. She then told me I'm not allowed to do anything that could destroy our relationship with her family. Me and my wife have great relationship. We love each other, and I wasn't furious with her. I was furious on the fact that brother-in-law didn't help her out in that particular situation. We have met several times since then, and it feels so wrong now. I just want to confront him and tell him what I really think about his egocentric personality. Of course, I don't want to destroy my wife's relationship either. Feels like I would blow up if I met him now. and I tell you that it wouldn't be a good blowout. Next weekend, we are seeing each other for the first time since I got to know about this. Not helping that brother-in-law isn't the thing that makes me get upset. It's the fact that he didn't help my pregnant wife. How should I approach this, Reddit? How do I keep a relationship with sister-in-law and brother-in-law without destroying or go against my wife's request? My fiancé and I have been together for almost 10 years. We met as teenagers and have gone through many firsts together. He's a sweet and humble guy who is loved by everyone, except there's one problem. My in-laws are driving me nuts. Buckle yourselves in and enjoy this tragic tale. My fiancé's sister and I used to be close friends. However, once I started dating her brother, it was like I became enemy number one. I essentially took away her little brother, and from then on, whenever we couldn't hang out with her, it was completely my fault. His sister would constantly blow up her brother's, 18 years old at the time, phone asking when he was going to be home so they can sleep with each other. What? He found this odd, but just claimed she was lonely. She wrote a whole Facebook post about how she hated me and that I was terrible for her brother. Then, she began to blackmail me and threatened to send my dad provocative pictures of me and her brother to get me to back off. I didn't take that very well, so I called her and gave her a verbal lashing. After the conversation, she called their dad and told him I was bullying her. Dad began to dislike me after that. One of our mutual friends went out to lunch with the sister and my fiancé, then phoned me afterwards to say she felt uncomfortable the whole time because the sister kept trying to sit on her brother's lap. It was all very weird, and my fiancé didn't know what to tell her to back off. A few months passed, and by then, the sister began to try to hook her friend up with my fiancé while we were together. Another couple of years go by with many issues in between. The sister is constantly asking my fiancé for money to buy her new boyfriend's lavish gifts and berates him when he refuses. At one point, she asked for $500 to buy another boyfriend a TV, and when I said no, she told her parents that I manipulated her brother. The boyfriend dumped her 2 weeks later. She expects my fiancé to buy her whatever she wants for her birthdays and Christmas, but never gets him anything in return except 2 years ago she bought him a sweater from Old Navy. She and her new boyfriend recently moved into their parents' home, but he pays for her dentist bill, the internet bill, and recently bought her an expensive router after she complained he was hogging the internet. The sister had to quit 5 different jobs within the past 3 years because she can't get along with her coworkers. One girl even keyed her car. When we revealed we were getting married, she had nothing but negative things to say. She is close to her family and has spread vicious lies about me to everyone, so I am always receiving the evil eye here. Now let's move on to the mother. A year after we started dating, I walked into the kitchen where my future mother-in-law was washing dishes. She had her back to me and did not know I was there when she asked her son where his W was, referring to me. My fiancé made an indignant sound, so his mom turned around, saw me, and went pale white. She gasped how very sorry she was and begged me to forgive her. I smiled weakly and told her it was okay. For Mother's Day, I bought her a bouquet of flowers, and the next day when I came over, she had them in the trash can. His mother is not religious, and I was brought up by a relaxed Catholic family, but whenever we bring up marriage, she cackles and pushes the fact we'll never be able to marry in church because her son is not baptized. Once, my fiancé, my mother, and I went to visit one of his uncles, but it was a nightmare. We were having dinner, and his daughter-in-law walked in halfway through. She was on the heavy side, but she was a very sweet girl. He asked her if she was hungry, and she said no. He responded, "What do you mean? Look at you. Of course you're hungry." Poor girl looked like she was about to burst into tears, and my heart went out to her. 20 minutes later, and the uncle also commented to me in front of my mother that I looked well-fed and it would be beneficial for me to lose some weight. I was chubby, but definitely not fat. His parents have never been there for my fiancé. They never celebrated his birthday, and when I made him a cake our first year together, poor guy burst into tears. Since then, my family always throws him parties. My family tries to make him feel included and like one of us, but his family hates it when he hangs out with us. His mother does not cook, and since he was a little boy, they've always given him money to buy fast food. My mom likes to make him home-cooked meals, but his family blames him for turning their backs on him. My fiancé has been on a sports team for over 5 years, but his family has never, not once, showed up to his games. My parents and cousins are known for showing up to support my fiancé and are well acquainted with his teammates. His parents don't even know the names of his best friends, while my whole family have had them hang around. Now, here lies the problem. My fiancé wants us to go visit his family tomorrow, about 6 hours away, and I am absolutely dreading it. They're awful to us, they gossip about us, and once we're there, they completely ignore us. But if we don't go, my husband is made out to be public enemy number one. The worst part is my fiancé never sticks up for me, and when I do say something back, I end up being the bad guy. I don't want to put him in an uncomfortable situation having to make him choose, but I can't deal with this negativity for the rest of my life. What are some things you guys have done to cope? I have no idea what to do, and the nerves are driving me nuts. Sorry for such a long post, but it feels good to get this off my chest. Wish me luck. My husband and I have had some tension between us lately. This tension comes from the differences in our families and my dislike for his side of the family. I was raised by what I would consider a good family. Social, liked by most, helpful in the community, not wealthy but hardworking, and had a middle-class lifestyle and clean homes. I was raised to treat everyone nicely, to be a pleasant guest when in someone else's home, and to respect the beliefs and boundaries of others. My husband's family, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. They're nice people, and I love them for their unique personalities. Not everyone has to be like me for me to like them. I take them with a grain of salt, and when I'm at their house, I make the best of their lifestyle. They all smoke inside, which makes me sick, but in their house, that is their choice. When they come to my house, they expect to do the same, which I let slide, but I find it rude. They have a handful of large dogs which have the run of their house. Again, I'm a guest in their home, and I make the best of it and ignore the smell and the copious amounts of dog hair. When they come to visit us, along come their 2 overweight basset hounds, which I greet with a smile on my face. When I asked that they didn't let them on the couch, which is brand new and pretty expensive, I was ignored and told that their dogs won't be treated that way. Again, I let it slide. They're guests and will be gone in a few days. His father drinks from sunup to sundown and is a fairly harmless drunk, just more on the annoying side when it comes to staying up until sunrise with the radio blaring and no regard for anyone's need for sleep. I'm OCD and try to keep a clean house, and I'm very careful with my belongings because I don't want to break things. When he's over, I'm very nervous that something is going to get broken, and I try to keep things put away. It may be inappropriate to say, but I feel like I have to watch him like a toddler that wants to play with everything in sight. A few weeks ago, my husband and I drove 7 hours to visit his parents, sister, and grandmother for a few days. They all live in a crowded single-wide trailer that smells like smoke and dog. Again, I don't say anything. That is their lifestyle, and I'm a guest. My husband was raised this way and sees nothing wrong with it, and I'm high class and think I'm better than everyone if I mention my discomfort. I tried keeping to myself this go-round, as his dad and I had a pretty bad argument during his last solo visit to our house. I lost my ability to stay silent after a day of hauling him around all day to drink and him changing our plans on us repeatedly. He lost his cool with me when I asked that we get this show on the road at around 6 p.m. since he wanted us to go to his friend's house to have a cookout, and my husband and I had plans for 9 a.m. the next day. I explained that we needed to go ahead and go so we could be back at a decent time so I could get to bed. He threw a fit and decided he didn't want to go anymore because he didn't want to be told what to do or to be on someone's schedule. Mind you, I had been on his schedule all weekend. That's when I lost my mind. He called me a B, I called him an a-hole, he left. Whatever. Like I said, I kept to myself at their house. Day 2 in West Virginia, I'm greeted with a truce. I wouldn't call it an apology, but more or less, let's put it all behind us. For my husband's sake, I agree. Everything is going good. We have dinner. My husband and father-in-law are on the front deck, and me and his mom are inside in the living room. We can hear what's going on outside, and the two of them start in on a heated debate about rumors. Father-in-law is siding with an ex-friend of ours, who he still drinks with, that says he has S with me, supposedly. This friend is about 50 years old, 300 pounds, and drinks so much I highly doubt that he would be able to have S even if he wanted to. At one point, we were all good friends, until we cut him out of our lives because of unnecessary drama. Anyway, father-in-law will not let up and starts calling my husband a liar. Eventually, this argument leads to my father-in-law trying to fight my husband. Then my husband starts arguing back. Fast forward a few minutes, a father-son fight is taking place on the front deck. I have enough and try to break it up by H my father-in-law in the head, trying to break the C-hold he has on my husband's neck. Father-in-law grabs me by my hair and slams my face into the porch, sits on me, and continues fighting my husband. At this point, I am beyond mad. My glasses are knocked from my face, my arm is skinned, everyone is yelling, including me. I'm ready to leave. I find my glasses and tell father-in-law what a worthless sack of crap he is for fighting his son, and I get laughed at. I walk inside and sit on the couch with mother-in-law, who is shaking her head in shame while we apologize to one another for yelling at each other in the midst of this. Suddenly, the arguing starts again. Father-in-law tells my husband he's bad at his job. He makes twice what father-in-law does. How I'm a W, how he made a mistake moving in with me, and countless other hurtful things about my husband, me, and our relationship. A fist fight ensues yet again. At this point, I pack our belongings and load up the car. I wait about an hour and ask my husband if he's ready. He says he and father-in-law are good now, and father-in-law laughs it all off, saying they needed to have a good fight. Knowing it's late, I lay in bed and try to sleep. The next day, we load up, ready to go. Everyone is laughing about last night, and I pretend everything is okay. We leave. I break down about 20 miles up the road. My husband tries to make me think this is normal and not to be upset. I'm having a hard time. It's been a few weeks since this incident, and it's causing problems between my husband and I. I have a hard time being positive about his family because his dad treated me horribly. His sister has stolen from me repeatedly and is now pregnant, chain smokes constantly, doesn't have a job, and expects handouts from everyone. I've worked multiple jobs since I was 14, and now my husband asks that I stay home. I'm very lucky to have a husband that can take care of us, and it took a lot of convincing for me to stop working. I have problems with disrespect and laziness. My husband doesn't see my point of view, and I've tried to just give him the option to go visit his family while I stay home, but he doesn't see why I can't just suck it up and go with him. Our totally different backgrounds are starting to become a problem, and I feel bad for my disgust towards his family. I love his mom. She's really kind, but takes her husband's side, understandably. I've even been good to his sister and the rest of the family. I just feel that it's time that I step back and keep my distance because it's causing me extreme depression. What do I do? Do I accept this toxic behavior? Will my husband ever realize that his family is toxic? Or are they not toxic and my standards are too high?